RS Ramasubramaniam, Co-Chairman of Feedback Infra, now joins in. Hi, Mr. Subramaniam. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us. One of the experts we spoke to indicated that this is a positive, as a headline, but it's too little, too late. How much of a relief will it actually provide on the ground? And have you guys done any study to quantify the kind of relief most of the road developers in India will get?
I'd just like to echo what you said. I think this is a good first step. But it is actually a little insignificant. Our own estimates are that about, if you talk about the original 40 projects that were there, out of that roughly about half hadn't even gone into construction, and so those obviously don't even kind of come into the picture. But out of the balance, perhaps about a balance about 50% will qualify under the stress formula of the Rangarajan Committee. So our own feeling, and this is also borne out by an NHAI estimate put out yesterday, saying if you look at 1,50,000 crores that were stuck in the premier rescheduling, our estimate is that about 20% of this premier will get released as a result of projects that pre-qualified, as a result of developers coming forward and taking up this revenue shortfall mechanism. So about 25 to 30,000 crores of premier will get affected or will get positively impacted by this happening that has happened yesterday.
Okay. Mr. Ramasubramaniam, I just actually wanted to focus on one point, which was rebidding. In terms of projects which would come up for rebidding, for example, the GMR project also, would there be any sort of incremental premium that we could see on the rebidding norms then, or the rebidding that takes place?
Yeah, as I said, because this is only a good first step and there are many more to be done, this whole issue of how premium will be bid out in projects that come up, whether for rebidding or for new projects, is still to be seen. For example, this is a special dispensation that has been given to these 30, 40 odd projects. What we don't have a clue about is saying, will the model concession agreement going forward for the new projects which are going to be bid out or rebid, will they have a clause which permits these kind of resets or renegotiations as part and parcel of the concession agreement without falling back on this Article 28 of the model concession agreement, which permits this special dispensation? So I think developers in the sector as a whole is looking towards a concession agreement where this kind of reset is built into the concession agreement. That is number one. Number two is, I think we are negatively impacted by the delay in the setting up of the highways regulator and the passage of the regulatory authority bill. I think that's a negative impact, so it will obviously have an impact on bids coming in higher. Third is that there is a dispute resolution tribunal mechanism set up for PPP projects. The bill is still pending clearance by the parliament. So whether it becomes a highways authority and a regulator, or whether it becomes a DRT bill and therefore a tribunal, whether it is a single-tier appeal or a two-tier appeal, all this has to be decided. So coming back to your question, I think bids will come in higher because we've not yet cleared all these uncertainties surrounding the entire sector.
Out of you indicated that about 50% of the original project will get a benefit or some sort of relief from the premium rescheduling. Any particular names that you'd like to give us, and which projects, of a GVK, of a, perhaps a GMR, or any of these listed infrastructure companies which could benefit?
GMR and GVK, both the KUA project, the Kishangarh-Udaipur-Ahmedabad project, as well as the Shivpuri-Devas of GVK, I understand both will qualify under the stress relief formula. But having said that, there are statements by both the companies to say that the 2% penal interest rate over the bank rate and the bank guarantee that's being demanded of these developers, I don't know whether even after qualifying, such developers would come forward to take the proposal. So this little bit of back and forth tugging between developers and NHAI and the ministry is currently on. I don't know how it will pan out. So the current names that are doing the rounds are obviously Ashoka Belcon, IVRCL, Gammon, GMR, GVK. I think these developers will benefit under the formula.
Okay, we have Pragya joining into this conversation as well, considering that she looks at the stocks and the projects very closely. Pragya, go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. The NHAI chairman, Mr. RP Singh, today clarified that, a lot of these 4 to 6 laning projects will not be benefited, because of this. There is a moratorium that there is, in these 4 to 6 laning projects. So what is the kind of actual net impact that you see for some of these companies? A lot of these larger concessionaires are involved in those projects. So, do they even benefit from projects like this? Because he did indicate that 11 projects will get the benefit of these norms. But if there is a moratorium angle involved, then, the net trickle-down effect of these benefits, should almost be close to negligible. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think I fully concur with Mr. RP Singh's statement saying that these 6 laning projects, because of the moratorium involved, I don't think they will be as favorably impacted as the 4 laning projects. That is one. Secondly, if you look at a penal interest rate of 2% over and above, say the bank rate of 10.75, that brings us to 12.75, which is almost the market rate for getting loans for these kind of corporates from the market. So if they at all wanted to go ahead with these projects, they would have gone ahead even in the earlier regime. So I think the 6 laning projects are not going to take off under this special dispensation. There's yet another reason, which is saying I think the Ministry and NHAI have recently debated the toll policy for 6 laning projects, saying during construction period, when tolling commences, there's a cap of 75%, that's the current proposal. And secondly, saying that beyond their original timeline, they will not be allowed to continue with tolling. So all of this will actually negatively impact the 6 laning projects in particular. And therefore, Mr. RP Singh's comment is very valid, saying I think this will impact only the 4 laning projects and not the 6 laning projects.
So, I'll squeeze in one more question. There are a lot of questions, as to, the traffic growth, etc. Will these projects be even picked up, once they do come for rebidding, given the state of the sector? But my question is a little more technical. Once in the premium rescheduling, the NPV of the project has to remain, constant. How will the NHAI and the developers, come at a discount rate? And will that, will the developers be able to contest that if they are not comfortable with the discounting rate that is being used, to arrive at that NPV value for the project?
See, I think when they agree to come back to the table for a particular project, I think between NHAI and the developer, they will agree to some discounting rate which maintains NPV neutrality. So I think at this point in time, to kickstart the project, there will be some agreement on the table. But the real issue is saying, pending not having a regulator, pending not having the DRT panel and the bill passed, what happens a year or two down the line, I think that is the larger challenge for us. So I think that the big issue is not settling on a discounting rate for NPV calculation the here and now, because I think highway developers will come to some settlement between NHAI and themselves as regards the discounting rate. The question really is what happens 2 years down the line when once again, because of economic uncertainties or because of regulatory clearance not having been received or land acquisition not having been done, they wish to go for some kind of dispute resolution. I can see a repeat of that unless, as I said earlier, the concession agreements are put into place, the clauses are renegotiated, or alternatively a regulator is put into place or a DRT panel is put into place. Those are the bigger steps that await us over and above what has happened yesterday.
All right, I think that will be all from my side. Ekta, over to you.
All right, Pragya, thanks very much for joining in. And Mr. Ramasubramaniam, we've completely run out of time, so thank you very much for joining in as well.